Hello everyone, nice that you are watching. This part of the course is all about the analytical approach to complex situations, and two important things here are dealing with potential changes of that situation in the future, and as we want to make the situation better, find business opportunities for instance, we want to make interventions in that situation. So we need to find both of them, and that is what we are going to do this week. Create potential scenarios for how our situation might look like in the future and identify a lot of potential system interventions to create the situation that we want to have in the end. Now, if you're looking for a certain business opportunity and want to, for instance, sell training shoes in a certain market, let's say the Netherlands, you need to find out what factors will determine that market. And not only the factors themselves, but especially how they will develop in the future. As in this future, you also want to keep on selling shoes, don't you? Let's keep things very simple and say that your training shoe market is determined by the demographic developments and by the sports culture that is present in the Netherlands. To make it even more simple, just as an example, let's say that in the future you either have a younger population or a more mature population, and that this society in the future is either very keen on doing sports to improve overall fitness or that the people simply don't care. This gives you a matrix of 2 times 2, so you have the possibility to create 4 stories about the future. One in which the population is young and society is keen on sports. This gives you special opportunities to sell training shoes. They should be massively available in probably fancy colors and not too expensive. While if you take another future with a much older population and a society that does not seem to care too much about sports, your shoes do not need to be available in that large quantities, and you might invest in developing high quality, higher priced shoes that do not change in appearance every season. Now, as we cannot predict what the future will look like, ideally you would like to make system interventions that would do well in many different potential futures. It might, for instance, be wise to invest in creating a certain type of shoes only for running, for instance, rather than all kind of specialized training shoes for purposes that might not be popular anymore in the future. While running is such a basic sport and part of training for many other sports and health purposes at all ages. However, most of the time when you make decisions for interventions that do well in multiple possible futures, you decide for robustness, but also you follow the safe path. You might avoid losses, but you also miss the high gains. You play on the safe side. Sometimes decisions for robustness are good decisions. However, you might as well take a more riskier decision that works well in less possible futures. But if that turns out to work, your gain might be much higher. Taking risk is part of commercial decision making. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Now we have thought about the future, it's time to think about how we are going to change the situation. Depending on your case, you might want to improve the situation, create business opportunities, or solve a problem that exists. Whatever your case is, fact is you want to do a system intervention in order to create a situation that you want to have. The first step towards finding interesting system interventions is simply listing all those interventions that are around. Most of the time people focus on one option only, but you give it a bit more thought, effort and time, and you will easily find many more. So, as a first source, ask all the stakeholders you have in your complex situation and what they think good system interventions are. And just list these interventions. A second source is to have a good brainstorm. You can do that individually by starting to associate from either the situation or from one or more obvious system interventions you already know. A more productive way is to brainstorm with a group. Each one in your group writes down what he or she is looking for or writes down one known system intervention. Then give that sheet to your neighbor and ask him or her to associate for 1 minute and write down everything that comes to mind. Then pass the sheet on again to another person. Give him a minute and also ask to associate from what is already on the paper. Now, after everybody in your group has done this exercise, you will have a pile of papers with lots of ideas for system interventions. You can group all these ideas. Take out the ones that I mentioned twice or the ones that are very alike. It leaves you with a very long list of potential system interventions. Now, instead of having too few ideas, you now face the practical problem of having too many ideas. There's no way that you can seriously consider all these system interventions and compare each of them to another on their merits. Instead of a long list of potential system interventions, you want to have a short list of promising system interventions. And that short list you can analyze in more detail. It's rather simple to reduce your long list. Just think of a few general screening criteria, like applicability or efficiency. These screening criteria are less explicit and differ a lot from the decision-making criteria from your goal hierarchies. Make a table with all the system interventions you found in the first column. Then give grades for each of your screening criteria, or use pluses and minuses. Add the grades or the pluses and the minuses, and you have a ranking. Now decide how much time you have for your further analysis and take the first 5, the first 10 or even the first 25 system interventions from your long list to create a short list. Now, with all of this we are going to exercise this week. As always, I first have a quiz for you to give the ideas that I introduced in this video a bit more thought. Then try out and apply it to your case. Good luck and enjoy, and I see you in the next video.